It's the Daily Doug.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today. My friends, you've arrived on a Friday. It's the last day of the work week, and we need to take a little load off. I have you covered, y'all. With a Masterpiece Friday, we get to listen to music from Genesis today, and I am pumped about it, and I'm happy that you are with me. So the song that I'm going to be doing today is called Domino. It is in two parts, parts 1 and 2, and I'm going to do both of them. This band, Genesis, it's really been one of my favorites here on the Daily Doug since the very beginning. And most of the time, I've been catching up on this band's great output during the 1970s that I had previously not heard. So today, I'm catching up to one of their more proggier songs that they put out during the 1980s. And I've told you, it's Domino. And this is one that I don't think I've actually heard, but I've heard a lot from this album. It's Invisible Touch. This is when I think I first really understood who Genesis was. The album is one of their classics. It was released in 1986, and it is their 13th album. By this time, the band is solidly down to 3 main members. We got Phil and Mike and Tony, and they had taken off the year before this album came out to focus on solo projects, but they came back together and they generated some of their very best radio hits on this album. All of side 1 leads like part of their greatest hits. Invisible Touch, Tonight, 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 Land of Confusion, In Too Deep. Those are some songs that I remember hearing as a kid, especially Land of Confusion. I remember really liking the video to that one with the puppet, politicians and all of that sort of stuff, right? Well, we're talking about a song here in Domino that is also about some confusion and how outside forces can lead to some consequences that we're not ready for, right? My core audience loves music of all styles, but they especially love progressive rock. And our friend David suggested this one, pointing to its length and its multiple sections and listing its proggy bona fides, right? And so, like I said, it's parts 1 and 2. So there's 2 main sections. The first is called In the Glow of Night, and the second one is called The Last Domino. And each of these sections served as B-sides to some of the big hits from side 1. In the Glow of Night, the first part of this, was the B-side to Tonight, Tonight, Tonight. And then the last domino, the last half of this, was the B-side to Invisible Touch. So it was definitely in the hands of a lot of people. And I ended up not hearing this. I heard the A-sides on the radio, but not this B-side. And I'm happy to get to it today. Tony Banks provides our lyrics, and he used the backdrop of the Lebanon War and the political consequences of some of these actions by political leaders as his inspiration for the lyrics. So, Phil Collins is on the vocals. He is also on the drums. Mike Rutherford is on the guitars. He's also on the bass, at least in the first section, because Tony Banks is playing a synthesized bass in the last section and providing the keyboards. And I think today I'm going to be working from the original studio recording. So let's get to it, y'all. Here is Domino from Genesis, and part 1 is In the Glow of Night. Off we go. Boy, that sounds like the 80s, doesn't it?
The gray of evening fills the room. There's no need to look outside.
Really open, sparse texture. It's kind of a ghosty synth in there, isn't it?
They reach across to touch her, but I know that she's not there.
Okay.
Keeps running down the window pane. Time is running out for me.
Wow.
Can't you see what you are doing to me? Can't you see what you have
Really in your face percussion.
as I try to pass
And the synth hits are pretty rock and roll. Intensity, just cutting through.
As I try to pass them by, I almost can't believe that she's here. Here in the glow of the night.
I read that Phil was using an electronic drum kit,
What you have done,
but they weren't programming the drums. He actually played and hit the electronic pads.
what you've become. Do you see we shall never be together again? All of my life. For the lonely people, empty rooms. Another pointless violent silent tunes. Could it be that we shall be together again? Sheets of double glazing.
It's really deceptive. The harmonies, the chord progressions are fleeting. They're kind of hidden. I like that.
Nylon sheets and blankets help to minimize the cold, but they can't keep out the chilling sounds.
They can't keep out the chilling sounds.
Will the nightmare soon give way to dreaming that she is here with me? Here in the glow of the night. Do you know what you
So,
have done?
D, down to C,
Do you know what you've
then
become?
back. And it's gonna go back, but it doesn't. It goes somewhere else. It gets back to D. And all the pointless violence, silent tunes. This is what happens in warfare, right? Is that flat 6 to our D chord, which would be B flat?
In silence and darkness.
Everything stops. And a beautiful resolution to F major.
We held each other near that night. We prayed it would last.
Yeah. You want those moments to last forever. Great vocal from Phil. That's flat 6 from where I remembered us being. Goes off into a different section, but it still is in D. I think this is part 2. Mixing major and minor. The one chord's major, but those other notes are from the minor key. Look at the beautiful river of blood. Okay. What surrounds me? Rise from this river of hell. Wow. The bodies dissolve and I am alone. Now see what you done. We are standing in judgment. Boy, there's a lot of prog in this, y'all, but it's definitely an 80s song. It's really interesting. It's like hearing a 70s prog tune produced with 80s style instrumentation and sounds. Where the hell they go? It's back to their D. So they went to G for a second. Now they're back on this D chord. Yeah, seeing the terrible news on the television is something we've gotten used to, right? There's nothing you can do when you're next in line. You gotta go, Domino. That's cool. I was thinking about the drums. I'd rather have acoustic drums, but I've heard more offensive electronic drum parts than this. Tritone. There's the one.
Each other near tonight, for will it last forever?
It's D minor.
Will it last forever?
Back and forth. 4, 5. There's a big expansion, and then they land. But not on F, on D. Know what you've done. I don't think they do. Either that or they don't care. There's nothing you can do to avoid the consequences. Wow. Yeah, gunshots. I think that's what we're hearing overlaid. So he's really putting it on the nose. We're talking about warfare here, conflict. And when he says, "Do you see what you've done?" he's talking to the people who led others into that conflict or caused it. And a fade out. It's Genesis. You know, like I said at the beginning, I've really been getting to know their output from the 70s, which is a lot of these longer songs, these concept albums, and these epics. And here in the 80s, they're moving to a more pop, radio-friendly style, but they still have songs like this that are coming back. They just sound like they're from the 80s instead of the 70s. I loved it, though. It was really, really a cool, and I think effective, tune. Boy, that lyric is on the nose from Tony, isn't it? I like the symbolism of the domino itself. These leaders or politicians that are given authority or end up having authority often, like I was thinking, either don't care or they don't fully realize the ensuing consequences of their decisions and actions, especially when it comes to foreign policy and engaging in international conflict. The collateral damage is just palpable for the lives of a country's people, most often the poorest among a population. And I think what Tony's saying is that we are, in effect, dominoes, and we can't help but be affected by the happenings that are put in place by other people, a lot of times in other parts of the world. And these atrocities and suffering that goes on outside of our local purview, nevertheless, down the line is going to affect us somehow. I mean, we all saw back during COVID what happens when we end up shutting down a lot of stuff because we can't be near each other because of the virus. Well, these supply chains get uprooted and get affected, and it took a long time to get those back and going, and we were expecting things to continue, but one thing happens and it affects another. It's a domino effect, right? Really, really fascinating. As the lyric says, there's nothing you can do when you're the next in line. You have to go, Domino. Fascinating. Fascinating. A great tune. I really did enjoy it. This album, by the way, was a big-time commercial success for Genesis. They released 5 singles from the album, and they all reached top 5 status on the charts in the U.S., and that's the first time that had ever happened on the U.S. charts by a band or an artist that was from outside the country. And they were the first ones that broke through. Big time album. And this song is a part of it, although I didn't hear it at the time. Mike Rutherford said that he thinks it's one of the best songs that the band ever recorded. And the band obviously loved playing it. They included it on 5 of their subsequent tours. It sounds like it would be a great live song. It's a nice mid-length epic for them. It's not like Supper's Ready where they have to either commit to doing the whole thing or just doing parts of it, something like that. I bet it would have been really great to hear this live. There are some live recordings of this that are on YouTube, but I went with what David put forth here, and I started with the original studio recording. Maybe it's time not too soon or not too long from now to go back and hear this and see what they did with it live. But that'll be for another time, friends. I thank you very much for hanging out with me this week. We've had some great music, and I look forward to next week. But that's all for me this week, y'all. Thanks for being with me, and we'll see you next time on another edition of The Daily Doug.
It's the Daily Doug. Welcome to the Daily Doug. The Daily